Welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Hey family, we're going to be dealing with a subject matter today that I think is something that most of us never give a whole lot of thought to. I'm going to talk about something that has been attacking and causing a cancer in our community for some time. I want to talk about why manhood matters. It is the real reason why black men continue to lose. Why manhood matters. The real reason why black men continue to lose. Well, let me think about it from this perspective. I think about it from my own personal life. I think about some of the young men in my family and some of the areas where I'm seeing a lot of weakness in the area of manhood. One of the biggest weaknesses that I see and that I notice is that there are a lot of young men who just doesn't seem to have any ambition anymore. And more importantly, I'm seeing a lot of drifting in our community. I'm at a point now where every time I go outside of my home, I go into the mainstream and I see young black men, and typically what I will notice is I'm seeing men who don't care how they present themselves. They don't care how they talk in front of people. They don't even seem to care that they're not doing anything with their lives. Now, initially when I used to see these things, I would be very, very upset because I know that there is a lot more in life that these young men can be doing. And then, of course, then I go into my therapeutic mind and I start thinking that perhaps maybe the real issue is that these brothers don't have a father figure. No matter what I ended up concluding, I always came back to the same conclusion, and that was there's something missing. Why is it that so many brothers are losing? And it just never dawned on me that perhaps the reality is one of the reasons why a lot of brothers are losing is because they really have no understanding what manhood is really about. I mean, think about it. When you look at the television, you look at the media, you look at the culture, everything you see is upside down when it comes to masculinity and when it comes to the description of masculinity. We're living right now in an environment where misogyny is commonplace. I mean, if you just woke up out of a deep sleep and you walked into American culture today, you would think that being a man equated with being a woman. I mean, you really wouldn't know what masculinity was. You would be so confused because those are the mixed messages that the society is sending. And so, more to my point, when you think about the young black men today, if you were to talk to any young black men, they'll start rattling off all the cliches that they're used to rattling when guys my age confront them about their status and their future. They just say whatever they think we want to hear. But the reality is that we recognize that these brothers are lost. But they don't actually understand how lost they are. They don't even realize their current situation. They don't know why manhood matters. They don't even know what manhood is about. When you think about the young men today in our climate, most of them think manhood is about rapping. Most of them think manhood is about addictive sexual behavior where they're going out conquering foolish women, having one night stand after one night stand after one night stand. Never growing up. Living a perpetual life of adolescence. Never taking personal responsibility for their actions, attitudes, and affections. The biggest thing that's missing from these young men's lives is not having an understanding of what manhood looks like. The biggest reason is because they have not been able to live with models that actually show them a complete picture of masculinity. And secondly, they haven't actually seen it lived out on a day-to-day basis. And so this is why we see what we see. Tattooed all the way up to their necks, tattooed all down their arms. They think that means something. Foolishness. Sleeping around with this girl, that girl, the other girl, having baby after baby after baby after baby. Learning all this foolishness. Some of these guys are becoming, I guess you can say, misogynist. They hate women. And they think that even means something. At the end of the day, they don't understand that our society is going down the toilet and is going fast, because manhood is about cultivating. It's about cultivating. Anytime you put anything in the hand of a real man, I don't care what it is, raw material. Once you put it in the hands of a real man, he knows what to do with it. He can take anything. You can give me a woman and I'll cultivate that woman. And she won't be what she was when she met me. You can give me a child. That child won't be what he or she was when that child came into my sphere of influence. You can give me a job. You can give me anything. And I will cultivate that thing, because that's what real men do. But what we're seeing is the total opposite. What's interesting to me is that you always hear women, especially talking about where all the good men. The downside is that if you would ask them, what is a good man? They couldn't tell you. They'd give you a bunch of platitudes, possibly tell you some things about, a few religious things. I want him to be a man of God, whatever that means. They couldn't tell you. I'm looking for things like this when I talk about what a real man is. A real man is a man, irregardless of whether this relationship becomes a committed relationship that leads to long term. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whatever a man puts his hands to, it's going to be better than it was when that man put his hands on it. See, but what we're seeing is the total opposite. A man will get into a relationship with a woman. Instead of making that relationship, as well as that woman, better off for meeting and being or sharing life with that man, what we see is the exact opposite. But yet and still, we think that's a man. That's not a man. At the same time, these men who are out here, instead of cultivating their children, building their lives, that's one of the areas that is a big red flag. One of the problems that we're having right now in our community is that building mode, or that building mechanism that is encoded in all men, especially in the African American community. That switch has been turned off. It's not on. Anytime you see a young black man and he's not building, I'm talking about building in the area of relationship, building in the area of building resources, building in the area of bringing rest to those who he is responsible for. He's bringing order. He's bringing peace. That's what I mean by rest. You don't see these three qualities? You're not looking at a man. You're not dealing with a man. You're dealing with a boy man. You're dealing with a child. You're dealing with someone who doesn't cultivate. You're dealing with a man who consumes. Every place, everywhere he goes, he takes, he consumes. And that's what we're seeing right now. That's the reason why black men are losing. Black men are losing is because we're just consumers. You don't see brothers building. Sure, there's a few of them out there. There's a few. The reason I know there's a few is because when I make this statement I'm about to make, I'm going to hear a whole bunch of noise. I know it. But I'm going to keep it real. Why is it that brothers are going out here sleeping around with this sister, that sister, sleeping around with this sister or that sister, or moving in with this sister or that sister? And then the first time a brother like me says, why are you doing all of this, wasting your time? When you could find one woman, wife that woman, and build. We don't have time for this childishness. If you don't like women at all, you are a heterosexual man, but you don't like women, then stop wasting time baiting women, talking to them and cheating them out of time. Give them a husband or just stay out of relationships altogether. That's all I got to say about it. If you are a man right now and you're still running from woman to woman to woman, and you're afraid of marriage because of what you've seen, you're afraid of marriage because of what you've lived, you picked some of the worst women, you need to check your own value system. You need to find out maybe there's something that you believe that's what you are attracting to your life. If your value systems are crazy, they're not conducive to a lasting relationship, a lifelong relationship, a partnered relationship, then you need to do some checking. You need to make some adjustments. But I'm telling you, until we as men take our natural role as men, because we are the source of our community, until we do that, brothers, we're not going to see any change with our young men. We're not going to see any change because the only way you're going to build, the only way you're going to make any real changes, you're not going to do it through academia. You can send the sisters to school all you want. More black women have more education, have more degrees than all the black men as well as all the white women, Asian women combined. Black women are getting it done. But obviously academics is not enough. We're going to have to do some discipling. We're going to have to do some show and tell, brothers. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to put our hands to the plow. We're going to have to get out here. If we have families, we're going to have to cultivate those families. We're going to have to build. We have to go out here and get resources. That's what we're going to have to do. Now, is that what you want to do? No, of course not. Of course we don't want to do that because the society has demonized that. The society says it's better to be a perpetual child your entire life and sleep around your entire life. And then when you wake up at 60, 65, 70 years old, you have nothing to show for it. Yeah, you may have some things, but you don't have anything else. Who loves you? Who loves you? What lives have you changed? What differences have you made? We are so in love with ourselves, we care nothing about anybody else. That's obvious. It is no way that we should be living our lives like we're living. We are people who have gone through and have been resilient and has come out of some of the most horrific behavior the world has ever known. And we're still here. We're still here. We're still standing. But we're going to have to make some changes, brothers. Now, I know I sound like an old school fool. I know it. I know it. I know you don't want to do what I'm suggesting. But the world was created by a man and a woman in holy matrimony, lifetime love. That's the only way we're going to fix this thing, brother. If we don't fix manhood right now, then what we're going to have in its place. Right now, what's developing is what I call a monster. We're creating a monster. Real men don't love real men like men loving women. Real men don't sleep with men. Real men don't steal from men. Real men don't lie to men. Real men don't abuse their children. Real men don't abandon their children. Real men don't beat their girls. Real men don't leave their wives. Real men don't use women and call it player. Real men don't do that. Real men are builders. Real men are cultivators. Real men are representation of the glory of God. That's what real men are. Until we get that mindset again, until we get that picture in our head again, and until we start to go back into our communities, change our hearts, look at the man in the mirror, if you will, and start looking at our women and start nurturing and caring for our children and rebuilding and establishing our families, and us rebuilding and establishing our homes, rebuilding and establishing our churches. Well, brothers, I will tell you the honest truth. This is the easiest prediction under the sun. We're going to cease to exist as a people. We're not going to make it. I'm going to leave you with this. Even if you don't believe anything I said, even if you think that I'm just going off on a tangent, even if you think that's just some religious nonsense, let me leave you with this. Even if you are an evolutionist, a materialist, there's a statement that is true for all of those people who are materialists. They understand this one statement. There is a law in the wild kingdom, and that law simply states the survival of the fittest. The strong will survive. It is no way we can continue as men loving ourselves to the state that we're loving ourselves, to the exemption of other people. We're just chronic takers, pathological takers. There's no way you can survive. There is no way we can continue loving another man the way we love a woman. We cannot survive. There is no added value. And more importantly, there is no order. You cannot order a society like that. I don't care if it's politically correct or not. History proves that. Nature proves that. You cannot survive. And we're not going to survive, brothers, if you want to be a man. And that's why manhood matters. God bless you. I see you on the other side.